Talk, the first... Oh, dang it. I started too early. This is why live podcasts aren't good for me. Anyway, welcome to Ballhawk Talk, the first ever baseball podcast by Ballhawks for Ballhawks, and it's even in video form, so you don't have to just hear us. You can also see our ugly faces. Anyway, I am one of your two hosts, Mateo Fisher, and your other host is Larry Larson. Now, Larry, what can we expect from the show today?
Well, today on the show we have the milestone tracker. We've got a few home run milestones coming up here, and we have ballpark review on U.S. Cellular Field, and we have our first guest, MyGameballs.com president/webmaster Alan Schuster.
And then, Larry, what will we be discussing with Alan after we interview him?
Well, we'll be discussing the Baltimore Ballhawk Adam Jones controversy type thing.
Yeah, we'll elaborate more when we get to that, but for anyone who doesn't know, a Ballhawk who I actually know and have stayed in the apartment of, well, actually it's a house, but Alex Cobb had a little run-in with Adam Jones that maybe didn't show Adam Jones at his best. But we will cover that, and it really is more of a discussion on the home run negotiation as a whole, if you will, and we'll go into that. But anyway, to go into Milestone Tracker, so some upcoming, this is a segment where we do upcoming milestones that Ballhawks may get their hands on if these particular milestones go into the stands. So to start off, we're pretty much essentially going to go in order of the things that are projected to be happening most recent to furthest in the future. So Martin Prado is at 997 hits. He is projected to hit number 1,000 in just a couple of days, and so if that happens to go into the stands, it is projected to happen at Chase Field, though. If you happen to have any tickets to their upcoming series or are in the area, definitely be on the lookout for that, because that could be a home run. Jose Bautista, however, is at 995 hits, and that is probably going to come up as a home, or is a lot more likely than Martin Prado to be a home run, since Jose Bautista is lay home run hitter extraordinaire. And now Pedro Alvarez is at 97 home runs, and that is projected to happen July 2nd. So I believe that is a home game for the Pirates, but if you're anywhere around that July 2nd date, or going to go to a Pirates game anywhere around that July 2nd date, definitely be on the lookout for number 100. Adrian Gonzalez is at 247 home runs. That is projected to happen 4th of July. And David Ortiz is at 446 home runs, and that is projected to be the 5th of July. Pablo Sandoval was, as of us looking up these stats, supposed to hit his 100th home run July 6th, but he actually hit one, I believe, Larry, correct me if I'm wrong, was it today or yesterday?
It was today.
It was today. So he is projected to hit his 100th home run. He's at 99 home runs the 27th of June, which is projected to be at AT&T Park. But again, there is some room for Pablo Sandoval hitting another home run in the next couple of days, or him going on, who was it? Was it A-Rod that went on a drought of like almost 100 at-bats without hitting a home run when he was going up on some milestone, Larry?
Well, that sounds A-Rod-esque, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, I believe A-Rod for both 600 and 500, he went on a long home run drought right before each of those home runs. I definitely know 600 because I had tickets to a series that was before he hit it, but he might have hit it then. So those tickets sold really well. And anyway, the last one is Michael Morse is at 96 home runs, but the San Francisco Beast might hit it before the projected date of July 21st. He might not. Be on the lookout for that. And now we go into our ballpark review of U.S. Cellular Field. So basically, in this segment, we just talk about the ballpark as we know it. So I'm actually not as native to the Chicagoland area, so I will let Larry go first.
All right. Well, I'll start reviewing it as a Ballhawk. The pros for Ballhawks are low attendance. There's always low attendance. The White Sox have a hard time drawing fans on a regular basis. Another thing, well, another thing is not a lot of ushers like to check tickets for sections behind the dugout, and so that means easy third out balls. And then some bad things are that the gates open 90 minutes early. There's only 3 gates, I think, so the lines tend to be kind of long. And another thing is they've kind of cracked down on the glove trick lately. If you're not quick enough with it, they will catch you, which I've learned that the hard way.
So now, overall, as a ball hawk, what would you give it in terms of a grade?
Well, I would have to give it an A because of the lax security and low attendance. On a weeknight, on like any early or late season weeknight game, it would be relatively easy to get a home run ball.
Okay.
From somebody like Jose Abreu or Adam Dunn or Paul Konerko.
Yeah, no, definitely. So as a ball hawk, I have to agree with most of the stuff you've got there. My biggest thing actually for U.S. Cellular that makes me really love it is that in all of the sections, there's no, like, what is it called, handrail. So with other ballparks, you really only have the spots between the handrails to go from section to section. So say you want to go from section, I don't even know if this is a real section, U.S. Cellular, from section 108 to 109, you can only go in the gaps in the handrail that are every like third or fourth row, which in U.S. Cellular you can go anywhere from any section through any row. You don't have to go up and over, and that just makes mobility great. Another thing is that there is a variety of seating types. So in left field, for me, I love it because there's bleachers there, but also there's seats in right field. I don't know why I love that so much, but bleachers are probably easier to navigate, but also I just love that they have both options available. That said, one of the bad things about U.S. Cellular is that they enforce a rule where if you don't have a 100 level ticket, you can't get into the 100 level period. Doesn't matter if it's batting practice or whatever. If you don't have a ticket for the field level, you're not getting in there. And overall, I'd have to say I give U.S. Cellular an A- in terms of being a great ballpark for snagging. I'd probably say its closest comparison for people who haven't been there is Citizens Bank Park, but again, that's me drawing the comparisons in my mind because of the no handrails thing. But it really is a great ballpark to snag in. I haven't done well there yet, but also that's partially because I haven't ever shown up for like right at the gate opening or like a little before that, which with it already opening 90 minutes early, you can't show up late at all. And now, Larry, I know we're going to go into the fan aspect, since not everyone goes to baseball games to Ballhawk. There also is the fan aspect, and so Larry, take it away.
All right. For the fan aspect, the ballpark is a little bit bland. But that said, it's not a terrible ballpark for a fan experience. The food is supposed to be really good there. I don't eat at the ballpark a lot, but the food, from what I've heard, is really good. And then for kids, there's lots of kids activities. such as like the fundamentals deck. You might see it on TV sometimes. It's in left field. They've got like batting cages and speed pitch, and they've got like a mini wiffle ball field up there. And then another thing is they've got a wide open concourse, large, wide concourses for like accommodating large crowds. And of course, there's not many of those on a regular basis, so it's usually nice and empty concourses.
Yeah.
So easy to get to merchandise stands and stuff.
Yeah, no. So for the fan aspect, what would you give it in terms of a grade?
I would probably have to give it a C plus, just because, you know, it's not that it's bad. It's nothing special though, and it is not in the greatest area of Chicago. If you've ever been there.
Yeah.
So that's why I would have to give it a C. C plus.
Okay. Yeah. Now, I'm pretty much the same. I gave it a B plus, or sorry, no, that's way too high. B minus. For a fan, from a fan's perspective, it is really bland. I also do love the great open concourses, especially like in the batters area, getting from right field to left field. You never have a problem because it's so wide open. And I agree with what was the name again of the kids deck?
Like the fundamentals deck, or Xfinity fundamentals deck.
Yeah. No, I love the fundamentals deck. Even though I've never used it, it's free for any 14-year-olds or younger. And a thing that I just found funny during the games, looking at the fundamentals deck, is they actually have a wiffle ball field. And if people are any good at wiffle ball and they hit it over the outfield wall, so to speak, it actually goes down. All the wiffle balls go down a level, so you'll just see an occasional wiffle ball like falling onto people who have no clue what's happening. I agree with the neighborhood. Don't want to be there after like a 15-inning game at night. But there is the L right there, which is their subway, so to speak. And so it's a quick getaway. But anyway, so overall, ball hawking A minus, fan experience B minus. And now, Larry, would you like to introduce our guest for the day?
Well, as I said earlier, our guest is the webmaster of mygameballs.com, which most of you know is like the go-to website for Ballhawks, Alan Schuster. So we have a few questions set up for Alan, and if you have any questions for him, you can tweet at us at MLBLarry, that's my Twitter, or at Observing Baseball, or is it at Observe Baseball?
Observe Baseball, yeah.
That's Mateo's. So,
yeah.
All right, if you want to ask him the first question.
Well, anyway, first of all, Alan, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing great, man. Thanks for inviting me to be on here.
No, yeah, it's definitely a pleasure to have the founder and webmaster of mygameballs.com. To reiterate, mygameballs.com, for those of you who may not know, is a baseball website. Well, it's really more of a website where if you've ever caught a baseball in your life at a major league or even minor league baseball game, you can log it here, know exactly who threw it or who hit it, and not forget. Because I know, for example, with my first 5 baseballs ever, I have no clue which game it happened, or even you could put in the attendance for that day and look back at what baseballs you caught and what the attendance was, or whatever it be. But anyway, we will start with an interview, and then we'll involve him later in a discussion. So the first question for me is, where do you get the new ideas for features on My Game Ball? So there are a bunch of different statistical features that he has on there. Where do you get the ideas for that?
Yeah, the majority of new features just come, via emails from members of the site who, say, hey, I like the way this works. I just wish you would, add, something else here, something else there, and I'll take those, ideas, tweak them, how I see fit, and try to add them to the site. Since I launched the site, I think it was 2009. I did a ton of work between 2009, 2010, a little bit of 2011. From there, it kind of slowed down where I kind of ran out of time to do a lot of work on the site. So it kind of, laid stagnant for a couple of years. And then this past year, some time opened up to add a lot of new stuff to the site. So, most of that was just stuff that had been lingering out there, people, saying, I wish you would add, for instance, a feature on here where you could compare your head-to-head stats, against another Ballhawk. Of all the games that I attended with some other Ballhawk, who came out on top most of the time, what were the averages, things like that. So that was one of the things that I was able to implement this past year. So believe it or not, a lot of the new things that get added are not really my brainchild. A lot of it just comes from suggestions from other people.
Yeah, if it's any indication to anyone out there, Alan is really open to stuff that sounds great and cool. He doesn't have a lot of time, as he said, anymore to do that much. But for example, I have given him a couple of ideas in the past, and we've worked through conceptualizing them, and then they eventually became features on the site. So if you think that there's anything missing from mygameballs.com, he does receive emails pretty well at admin@mygameballs.com if you have any ideas or suggestions, and he's pretty open. And Larry, I believe you had a question for him.
All right, my first question is, how do you choose where Ballhawk Fest is going to be every year? Is that more suggestion from other Ballhawks, or is it, I don't know, just your idea?
Yeah, so Ballhawk Fest, if you look back, I think we've done it for 3 years now, and the attendance has been, maybe around 15 people per year, and it's been kind of in the Northeast area each year, and that's kind of the thing right now. I don't think we've quite grown large enough where we can hold Ballhawk Fest in a more isolated location, like say Atlanta or Kansas City or something like that. It really does need, in order to get a decent turnout to it, it does need to be in a location where you've got a high concentration of Ballhawks, and right now that area is the Northeast. So we went the first year in Baltimore. The first year that kind of came about because Matt Herschel, a guy who was a great guy, Ballhawk, he was tragically killed in a car accident. This was actually his whole idea, was to come up with a yearly gathering of Ballhawks. He was a Baltimore guy, so that's why we had it in Baltimore the first year. It was really successful, so the next year we did it in Pittsburgh, and then the third year was in Philadelphia. In each case, it just happened to be somewhere in the Northeast where pretty much everybody who could attend was within 2 to 3 hour drive of where the event was held. So this past year we had a few suggestions for Washington D.C. Of course, that Washington D.C. is the closest ballpark to where I live, so that was kind of an easy decision for me to jump on that and say, hey, let's go with Washington D.C. for this year. But in general, I start emailing people in the off season about November, December timeframe. Just kind of bouncing ideas around. Hey, where would people possibly like to see Ballhawk Fest being held? And around January, February, I'm able to determine. Hey, I've got a good interest in maybe this stadium or that stadium, and then from there, what I try to do is try to pin down a specific date that I can get a handful of Ballhawks all committed to. So, if by the end of February I can get 5 or 6 guys saying, hey, let's do the Ballhawk Fest on this date at this stadium, things just kind of fall into place from there. So that's kind of the process that I go through to choose the Ballhawk Fest.
Okay. Now, a more general, like my game balls question that I have, completely unrelated to that, is there are a ton of accounts that have like 1 or 0 baseballs on them in mygameballs.com. Have you ever thought about deleting those?
Yeah, I actually have thought about deleting those. I think part of the reason that they're not deleted is kind of a selfish reason from a webmaster's perspective, is that it kind of makes me feel good to go look at the members page and have it have a higher number, and not wanting to delete a bunch of accounts and have that number be hundreds of members lower. So from that respect, I've been kind of hesitant to delete accounts, but yeah, you're right. There are a lot of accounts out there that don't have any balls. The ones that have a couple balls, I definitely want to leave those on there, because some people may have snagged 1 ball in their life and they want to post that on the site and have it be there forever. So I'm totally fine with just accounts that have a few balls on there. There are some on there that somebody hasn't even bothered to put their name or birthday or city or anything on there. So those, I think at some point, we do need to go through and to kind of do some cleanup and delete those. So as you're searching through the site for things, you don't have to be bothered with some of those accounts. One thing that's new this year, of course, is the member verification system, where we have verified members and non-verified members. So in that respect, if I'm sure people have noticed this year, as you look through the leaderboards, they're only including verified members. So from that point of view, you don't really even have to worry about some of these old unused accounts or anything, because they're not really showing up. You pretty much can just browse through the accounts of people that are active and are verified by one of our verifiers.
And Larry?
One more question from me. How many games do you yourself go to a year? Kind of just a normal ball hawking question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm definitely baseball fanatic, and I would love to go to 100 games a year if I could. I have a lot of family obligations. I have a 2-year-old that I need to take care of. I have a full-time job, and of course, on top of that, I don't live within close proximity to a Major League Baseball stadium. The closest stadium is Nationals Park, which is about a 3-hour drive to. So generally, most years I make it up to Nationals Park once, maybe Camden Yards another time, and then what I have been able to keep up with is me and 3 other friends usually take a road trip every year to 3 or 4 stadiums. One year we did the Chicago, Milwaukee, and Minnesota ballparks. Another year we did Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Detroit, and Toronto. Another year we did Houston and Arlington. And I think this past year, what was it? I'm drawing a blank here. Throw out some stadiums. What are some stadiums out there?
Out where?
This is how few games I go to. I can't even remember the stadiums I went to last year. Why can I not remember this? I don't know. I can't remember.
That's completely. Yeah.
When it comes back to me, though, I'll chime in and let you know. But in general, me and some buddies go on a road trip every year. This year we're planning on hitting up Chicago, St. Louis, and Kansas City. And that's going to be around the Labor Day time frame. So definitely excited about that and looking forward to it. That's about it. And now that I think about it, I think we did not take the road trip last year.
That would
We
explain
did
why you
not
don't
take
know
the
where
road
you
trip.
went.
That's why I was completely drawing a blank on it. My only game last year was Ballhawk Fest in Philadelphia last year.
Oh, 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 that's a
We
good
did
game.
take a one year hiatus from our road trip. It was the Texas road trip the year before that, and then we'll be back this year with Chicago, Kansas City, and St. Louis. So
Okay, so now my final question from us, anyway, is what did you think that My Game Balls would turn into when you created the site?
yeah, it's interesting. When I created it, again, it was 2009, and the idea kind of formed as I became an avid reader of Zach Hampel's blog. And at the time, I really had no idea that ball hawking was as big as it was. I really enjoyed Zach's blog, and I thought it was cool how many balls he collected, and his blog obviously is extremely entertaining. But at the time, I figured, he was a big ball hawk, and I figured, hey, there might be 3 or 4 guys in the country who, are this fanatical about collecting balls. So when I first started building it, I kind of thought to myself, hey, maybe this will just be a little thing I can email Zach and say, hey, maybe you want to, add this, as a way to supplement your blog, and you can, quickly document the balls that you've snagged, and just be able to add it like that. And as I went through developing the site, I just kind of thought, hey, I might as well just make this a site where anybody can create an account and log the balls on there. And like I said, I was kind of expecting it originally to be Zach and maybe a few other guys, and so I was kind of surprised initially when I launched the site, and right off the bat had 30 accounts created or something like that from people all over the country. Now, and so I was like, hey, I guess this, ball hawking is much, much bigger than I thought it was. And of course, over the past 5 years, I don't know how much my site had to do with it, but I think it's grown a lot more, and we're up to hundreds of members now. So it's really cool to see that whole thing to come through. So.
Wow. Yeah, no, and we are way over time already. That's fine. I love the answers. So we'll actually push the Adam Jones Alex Top thing to next week. Same time, Sunday. That would be June 22nd at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. But before we go out, one last question for Alan from one of our live viewers, and that is Todd Cook, and it is, Alan, has your kid made her Major League Baseball debut yet? If not, how about Ballhawk Fest? Also, P.S. Happy Father's Day.
Well, thanks, Todd. I appreciate the Father's Day shout out. My daughter Nora, she turned 2 on May 2nd and has not yet been to a minor or Major League Baseball game. I was thinking about maybe making this the year, but I think we're going to have to wait till probably next year. I don't know. I mean, I think I want her to be able to really remember that first moment that she walks into a stadium. I know for me, I was probably actually maybe 6 or 7 the first time I went to a Major League Baseball game, and it was maybe 3 or 4 years prior to that, going back to when I was maybe 2 or 3 years old when I started watching games on TV. So for me, it stands out as a really, really huge memory in my life. The first time I went to a game, it was in Baltimore at the old Memorial Stadium. And I just remember that first moment when I walked through that tunnel. A lot of these older stadiums just have, a tunnel where you don't see anything in the stadium until you walk through the tunnel, and then all of a sudden
it opens up.
Yeah, boom, it opens up, you see, everything, and it was just an incredible moment for me, as a 6-year-old boy to walk out there and just be blown away by a Major League Baseball stadium. So I'm thinking I kind of want to get her to wait a little longer. Pretty much to this point, she has gone to one of my adult softball games, and that's pretty much her only exposure to baseball at all. She might have caught a little glimpse of the game on TV every now and then, but I kind of want her to get a feel for what baseball is and how it works, and kind of get an appreciation for professional baseball, and seeing a little more on TV, and kind of get some of that knowledge before I take her out to a game. But definitely looking forward to it. I'm hoping I can take her to one of the games where the kids are allowed to run the bases after the game, because I'm sure she'll have just a blast running around the bases. So I hope that answers your question, Todd. Look forward to seeing you guys at Ballhawk Fest.
Yeah, really.
All right. Well, that wraps up the show for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, for those of you watching live. And next week, come back and watch, as we'll have the Baltimore Ballhawk discussion and another guest. I believe Tony Voda from Minneapolis will be on the show to talk about Target Field and his Vote Plouffe campaign.
And we'll see you next week.